Old Thompson was 74 the winter his wife died. She was 69. They would have celebrated their golden wedding the following summer, and they were a quiet and fond couple. It was bronchitis that finished her, helped by a week of November fog and Cressley's industrial dirt and smoke. In 10 days, she was dead. His wife's death nearly finished Thompson, too. He was a changed man, always active, carrying his years easily, and with red good health in his face. He now seemed to age overnight. He seemed to dry up and bend like a tree whose roots lack water. His hands were suddenly uncertain and awkward. When they had held things surely before, the world about him seemed to lose interest for him. He became silent and withdrawn. He sat for long hours in his tall wooden-backed armchair by the fire, and what he thought about in his silence, no one knew. Bob, the Thompsons' younger son, and his wife Annie were living in the house in Dover Street when Mrs. Thompson died. The Thompsons had 4 children. The elder son was lost at sea during the war. A daughter married and went to Australia, and a second daughter, Maud, 15 years older than Bob, lived with her family in another part of the town. Bob and Annie had not known each other long before they became eager to get married. Bob, because he wanted Annie, and she, though she was fond of Bob in her own way, because she could at last see a life away from her coarse family. When Mrs. Thompson suggested that they marry and live with them in Dover Street until they could get a house of their own, Annie hesitated. Her ideal of marriage had been to gain a husband and an orderly, well-furnished home at the same time. But she soon saw the advantages in this arrangement. She would, first of all, escape from her present life into a house which was quiet and efficiently managed, even if it were not hers, and she would be able to go on working so that she and Bob could save up even more quickly for their own house. She would also get Bob a good enough husband for any working-class girl. He was kind and pliable, ready to be bent her way whenever it was necessary for her intentions. In time, Bob became used to the silent figure in the house. But Annie, who, since her mother-in-law's death, had left her job and was at home all day, began to find the old man's constant presence a source of growing annoyance. "He makes me mad, Bob," she said one night when they were alone. "Just sitting there all day while I have to clean round him. And he hardly says a word from the moment he gets up in the morning until he goes to bed." "Well, I suppose he has a right to do as he likes," Bob said mildly. "It's his house, not ours. We're the lodgers, not him." But to Annie, now looking after the house as if it were her own, it was beginning to seem the opposite. On Wednesday afternoons, Annie took the bus into Cressley to shop in the market. For an hour or two, she used to walk between the stalls, looking at everything, buying here and there, and watching closely for the bargains that were sometimes to be had. And then, with all her purchases made, she left the market for the streets of the town to spend another hour in her favorite pastime, looking in furniture shop windows. There were furniture shops of all kinds in Cressley, those where you had to strain your neck to see the prices on the tickets. And there were others where the furniture was almost covered with notices offering prices which were too attractive to be true. One Wednesday, she found a new shop full of the most delightful things, with a notice inviting anyone to walk in and look round without necessarily buying anything. And he hesitated for a moment before stepping into the shop. Almost at once she stopped, entranced, before a 3-piece suite. There was a card which said, "This fine 3-piece suite is yours for only 10 shillings a week." Shillings a week, and very small at the bottom. Cash price £94. 10 shillings a week. She could almost pay that out of the money she had for the house each week, and never miss it. A voice at her shoulder made her jump. "Can I help you, madam?" She looked round at the assistant, who had come softly to her side. "Oh, well, no," she said, confused. "I was just looking." "Were you particularly interested in the lounge furniture?" asked the young man. "Well, no. All of it, really. I see. You're thinking of furnishing your home?" "Well, yes, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm just looking round, you know, and we can supply everything you need." The assistant took her by the elbow. "If you come up to the showroom you will see what I mean." "Well, Annie began, a little frightened at the thought of getting involved. But she was already being led to the rear of the shop, and up a few wide steps. In the entrance to the showroom she stopped and stared. There before her, filling every corner of the huge room, was furniture of all shapes, sizes, and uses. Lounge furniture, dining room furniture, furniture for bedroom and kitchen, and even television and radio sets. You know, we can furnish a complete home for only a few pounds a week. Half an hour later Annie was on the bus, going home, with pictures of beautiful rooms in her excited mind. All that, and for just a few pounds a week. There was absolutely no reason why they could not have their home tomorrow. No reason, except they had not got a house. Bob, when are we going to have a house of our own? We've been waiting for 3 years now, and we still haven't got one. Oh, I don't know, Bob said lightly. There isn't much point in trying to get another place with things as they are. Besides, who would look after my dad? Your sister Maud could help. Yes, I know, Bob muttered. I'm sure she had help if she had to. Maud is a good person, really, you know. But anyway, it is not necessary yet. Where would we go if we did move? We could not get a house to rent 3 years ago, and we still can't. What about buying one then? Annie said, bet would. Or wait till we've enough money for a good deposit. We've over £300 in the bank, Annie said. What did we save it for? You could spend all that on furniture. That would not be enough. They were walking home from the cinema after seeing a film about an American house with an open 2-level living room, where there was lots of space, and everything looked modern and well made. Annie knew the limitations of her life, and did not want the impossible, but she was becoming greedy to take what was there waiting for her. There's always hire, purchase. I was talking to a fellow in a shop today, and he told me you could furnish a house for just a few pounds a week. Bob laughed. You spoke to one of those types, did you? They will say anything. No, we can do without debts like that. Someday you will have all you want. Someday, Annie muttered. Staying at home after working all that time has made me want a place of my own. Well, I mean, this place is practically your own, is not it? You do nearly everything you like in it, do not you? And it will really be yours one of these days. After all, my dad cannot last. He stopped, and he glanced quickly at him. You mean he cannot last forever? Shut up, Bob muttered. We should not talk like that. There was a light on in the house, and they found Bob, his father, sitting in his chair by the fire. Still here said, I thought you would have been in bed a long time ago. The old man lifted his face to them, though his eyes seemed hardly to see them. I was just going. He pulled himself up and went out without another word. They continued as they were for some time, and then summer came. And with the warmer days old Thompson moved from his chair, and began in the afternoons to walk down the hill to the park where he could sit on a bench in the sun. It was a great relief for Annie to be without him for a while each day, and she found new enjoyment in her life as a housewife, the life she had always wanted since she was a little girl in a rough, overcrowded home. She did the work with great spirit, cleaning and polishing until the house was always faultlessly clean, but still, there was something lacking. It was not like caring for her own possessions, because she was surrounded by furniture that was heavy and dark and old-fashioned, and which never gave her a true reward for all her efforts. This old furniture gives me the willies, she complained to Bob. It is like living in a museum. All those cracks and corners only attract dust. I do not know how your mother accepted it for all those years. She was used to it. It is the furniture they bought when they were married. It was all the fashion at that time. Well, it is certainly out of fashion now, Annie said. Yes, well, we will have some good stuff when we get a place of our own, Bob, she said. Why do not we get some new furniture now? Think how nice this place could look with the new carpet and a 3-piece suite. In just a minute, Bob said. What my dad. This is his house, you know, and he might lick it as it is. You can ask him. I do not think he'd mind. You know how he is these days. But what could we do with his stuff? Oh, we could sell it. Somebody on the market would buy it. We cannot just sell the old fellow's home while he is here, Bob said. He sounded shocked at the thought. Damn it. What would he do when we left? There would not be any need for us to leave if we had some good furniture, Annie said. Bob saw her smooth round face with the determined expression which always frightened him a little. He was still surprised she had ever married him and was anxious to please her in any way he could. I mean, if my dad does not mind, suppose we could put it into store, then if he ever needed it, it would be there. Single quotes. In the end they sold the furniture, the old man making no objection. They gave him the money, a sad small number of pound notes which he looked at in silence for some time before closing his hand round them and putting them away. They redecorated the living room, using a light modern paper which seemed to make the room bigger, and hung new curtains. Then when the furniture came the carpet, the dining suite and the three-piece. The change was complete and amazing, and he wanted to dance with joy. Here was something worth looking after, that rewarded dusting and polishing, something that was her own. The only thing out of place was the old man's tall-backed chair, which was empty more often now in the long warm afternoons when he was sitting on a bench in the park. For a time she was at peace. And then she could not help speaking to Bob about an unfairness that had annoyed her before, but which seemed more unjust now that the house had her own stamp on it. She suggested they ask Bob's sister to take the old man. We have had him for nearly a year now, she reminded Bob. I do not see why your Maud should not have him for a while. She has got as much room as we have. But this is his home, Bob said. He won't want to go. What is the difference between one place and another? Annie said. He hardly knows where he is anyway. I do not know, Bob said. There is something not luck. Just promise you will see her and mention it. Well, I do not suppose there's any harm in asking her. He came into the house a few nights later to find Annie and the old man sitting opposite each other, his father with his hands resting on the stick between his legs as usual, but sitting on the edge of one of the new armchairs. Bob looked round. Where is your chair, Dad? The old man's voice was stronger than he had heard it for a long time now. Ask her, he said. Annie's face was as red as fire. I let it go this afternoon, she said. I sold it to a man at the door for 5 shillings. Your dad won't take the money. You did what? Bob could not believe her. Annie was obviously regretting her impulse, but it was too late now. If it was out of place here, and I knew your Maud would not want it. Bob was so surprised that he spoke without thinking of the old man sitting there. It's not the only thing our Maud does not want. Single quotes. And one spoke for several moments. And in the silence, a tremble went through old Thompson's body. He got to his feet, standing erect as he faced the two of them. You have been to Maud's, have not you? Trying to get rid of me. His voice, high and thin, cracked with his anger. I know what it is. You want me to die. Well, I will tell you I want it too. There is nothing left for me since my Mary went. I'm waiting, just biding my time till the good Lord decides to take me to her again. His stick rose and fell with a loud crack. And you will just have to bide your time and wait for me. He turned his red face and angry eyes from them and went through the door. They heard his slow feet on the stairs. Neither of them spoke. In a moment, they looked at each other, and then they looked away.